Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands-on SAP Dev with me, DJ Q Macro, back again. Welcome to 2023. Hope you had a good holiday break and new year. So good morning to Helmut in Braunschweig, Brunswick in Germany, and good morning to SVO, and good morning to Dacia and everyone else who's joined. So yeah, welcome. I've got my coffee, I've got my water. And most importantly, you're here as well. So yeah. As the title suggests, we're going to take a bit of a gentle introduction to get started with, because last year we did some sort of fundamentals, didn't we? We've got the 2 minutes of videos, which hopefully we're going to do some more of. We looked at some fundamentals elsewhere as well, and we're going to continue along that theme this year as well. Trying to sort of, not necessarily entirely go back to basics, but, make sure everyone's sort of reading from the same page and everything. So good morning, AP, and good morning, Marianne, and good morning, Leo, and good morning, Nico. And Happy New Year. Yes, exactly. I'm looking down here at my thing. I really want to have some sort of, stand where I can put this separate laptop higher up, so I don't have to keep looking down to the chat and then looking back up to the camera. But anyway, it's a first world problem. I know. So what we're going to do today is, as it says, get started with OAuth 2. I've picked, well, I was going to say randomly, but it's not random because it's to do with an API that I've covered in a code jam. And in fact, Marian, Mentorfly, hello Mentorfly, and Piyush, good morning Piyush, and welcome. Marian, you've seen this before when we did the code jam in, where was it? Remind me, I can't remember. Was it in somewhere between Antwerp and Brussels? I can't remember. Anyway, my brain's not working. So we're going to call an API in the core services for SAP BTP API package, and that will sort of require us to work through what we need to do to call API. And what we need to do to call that API, because it's protected with OAuth 2, is figure out how it's protected, what sort of scope we need, and request a token, and then use that token to actually make the API call. And now it seems complicated, but actually it's not. When it comes down to it, of course, it's more complicated than using basic authentication with HTTP, which of course it's not ideal for protecting sort of enterprise resources, which is why OAuth 2 is a great solution. There are different approaches with OAuth 2. There are different so-called grant types or authentication flows. You might have heard of the phrase two-legged auth or three-legged auth. That really, the legs really sort of refer to the roles involved in in the push-pull of tokens. And yes, can I do this for you? Yes, you can. Here's a token. Blah blah blah. There are different grant types, and the one we're going to look at today is protected by resource owner password. What's it called? Resource owner password grant type. Now that is considered a legacy now, but it still protects some of the resources that we've got on the API Hub. So we'll start with that one first, and maybe if we want to do another one of these next week, we'll do one where that's protected by client credentials. There's also, in fact, rather than me just keep rabbiting on, let me just change to the main scene. And good morning. It was in Mechelen. Oh, yeah, was it? How can I forget? Sorry. Yes, thank you, Marianne. It was in Mechelen. The reason I'm sort of saying how can I forget is because I have fond memories of Mechelen from a previous code jam there as well. But also, I did work in Mechelen back in the late 90s on an SAP R3 project for about 6 months. It was pretty awesome. Anyway, we've got here the API Business Hub, and what I was going to show you was very briefly, let me bring up Chrome actually. Oh yeah, checking out people's runs this morning. There we go. I've got this let me share that actually down here. Let me share that here. This section, it's in an archived, let me make it a little bit bigger. It's in an archived repository, but from a documentation perspective and sort of a background perspective, I think it's still quite useful. And I've referred to it before in other things. But basically, this helps you understand OAuth 2, what the roles are, how the roles work, and this diagram is actually from the RFC that describes OAuth 2. So OAuth 2 is an open standard, open authorization, and there's an authorization code flow, which is basically when you have said, oh yeah, I would like to grant TweetDeck access to Twitter on my behalf, or something like that, or I would like to grant this particular app access to my Google Calendar, but only the Google Calendar and everything. I'm the resource owner, the resource server is the Google Calendar server, the authorization server might be another server at Google, and the client is effectively the program that I want to give access to. So there's all sorts of ways that OAuth 2 can be a really powerful sort of authorization layer. And so we've got authorization code, grant type, client credentials grant type, implicit grant type, resource owner password credentials grant type, and that's what we're going to look at today, right? Anyway, Mark, good morning, Mark, and good morning, Hussein and Merve, and good morning, people. Yes, good morning. Where is this longboat? Oh, can we already visit you? If you, what Mark is referring to is a post here. Let me pop that on the thing there as well. It's a narrowboat. I'm having a narrowboat built, and I'm going to move onto it and work from it and live stream from it as well. How exciting will that be? So there's the information there. Thank you, Hussein. Thank you, Hussein. So that's that. So yeah, let's get started. We're going to be learning by doing, as always. I have no idea what I'm doing. As you can see here, a little bit further down, see where the grant types are used. You can see how old this is on SAP Cloud Platform. It's not even called that anymore. But we can see here, for example, we've got the core service APIs. We've also got, for example, the enterprise messaging APIs, and those are protected, for example, by client credentials. So if we want to do a call to an enterprise messaging API endpoint, maybe to create a queue or something, or a queue subscription, and that's protected by client credentials, we can do that next week. But anyway, we're going to start nice and easy, nice and slow. And if I look for core services SAP BTP, there we go. There's the package. Okay, so we're going to sort of bounce between. I always think of this like as a bowling alley, and we've got the bumpers up at the side. We're going to throw the ball, bounce off the bumpers, and like figure out where we're going to the pins at the end. Hey, Raghu, hi. So one of the things we want to, one of the things we can call in the entitlement service? I think, let me have a look at the API reference. Yes, okay. So a nice sort of read-only API will give us the regions for global accounts. So get all data centers that are available for the global account, including information such as their names, regions, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we want to call this API. And we're going to go through what we need to do to make a successful call. Okay, and hopefully we'll do that within the hour. I'm going to be talking a lot and figuring things out. And hey, Raphael, good morning, Raphael. We'll figure things out together. Ask any questions you have. No question is too crazy. No question too simple. So what have we got so far? Let me just make that a little bit bigger. What we got so far is we've got. By the way, is everybody familiar with the API Business Hub and how it sort of works? You have a core services for SAP BTP. That's like an API package. When you see that little icon there, that thing, a world with like more than one prong coming off it, that's like a package. And then that is an API, that sort of icon there. So with the entitlement service API, okay, and then the entitlement service API, if you look at the API reference, has a number of one or more endpoints. It's got some entitlement endpoints, so you can do a get on this one, a put on that one, a patch on that one, blah blah blah. So these are all endpoints, but as you can see, the endpoints are all grouped into groups. I mean, group is my name for it. You know, I don't know what these are supposed to be called, but you can sort of see that they're arranged into a logical, you know, set of buckets, groups. So in the regions for global account group, there is only one endpoint, and that is /entitlement/v1 /global accounts allowed data centers. Okay, so that's so far so good. So that's what we want to call, and just to again reiterate, it's just going to get some data center information. Fine. This is interesting. Required scopes global-account.region.read. So we'll need to make sure that the token that we end up requesting includes this scope. Otherwise, the call is going to fail. Even if we have, you know, a token, a valid token, if that token doesn't contain the right scope that is required for this endpoint, you know, the resource server is going to say, sorry, you haven't got a scope. Okay. So if we go back to the overview, and if we have a look at the documentation, account administration using APIs of the SAP Cloud Management Service, what is that all about? What that, you know, account administration, SAP Cloud Management Service, it's nothing to do with entitlement service or core services for BTP. But what this is telling us is we need to go to this part of the documentation on the help portal. We'll go there now, and it will show us what we need to do to request a token and make the call. Okay, account administration using APIs of the SAP Cloud Management Service. Okay, and the SAP Cloud Management Service, which is a service available on SAP BTP. The technical name of the service is CIS, Cloud Information. I have no idea what it stands for, CIS, but anyway, that's what we need to think about. Okay. And really, the SAP Cloud Management Service APIs include APIs for accounts, for entitlements, for provisioning, for events. So think of the cloud management the cloud management name as a sort of core services, you know, equivalent. Okay. Anyway, let's not get too entangled with the names. Now, down here, and we're not going to read through all of this together, but down here, if we have a look at the next bit, this is a ton of information. By the way, is it just me, or does this, you know, what do you think of this? What do you think of this little, you know, do you like that? Do you like that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but let me know. Let me know. So there's a ton of information here, really helpful, useful information. We're not going to read through it all, but we're going to skip through it all, because this is what you would need to read if you were on your own and go through it and everything. But basically it says, the APIs of SAP Cloud Management Service are protected with the OAuth 2 password grant type. Now, password, that's a short form for, I've still got it, that's the short form for resource owner password credentials. Bit of a mouthful, so it's called the password grant type, okay? That's that. And in some cases, also the client credentials grant type, but only in certain narrow circumstances. So we're going to go with the OAuth 2 password grant type protected flow, right? Raphael, you like it. You like it. You like it. Okay, cool. You like the actual movement of the thing. Cool. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Thank you. It says here, it's protected by that. Blah, blah, blah. This procedure guides you through the steps to create an OAuth client and obtain an access token, keyword there, from XSUAA, the Authorization and Trust Management Service, to call the APIs of the SAP Cloud Management Service. Now, what's going on? What is this Authorization and Trust Management Service, XSUAA? That, if we look at the diagram here, that's the authorization server, okay? So we've got, you know, different flows, but these things are generally involved in the flows. You know, there's no resource owner in password grant type. Well, no, there is. Well, let's not even get into that. But that's the authorization server. The resource server is the actual, you know, the server that serves the APIs. But the authorization server is the XSUAA. Is the authorization and trust management service. Okay. The scopes included in the access token depend on the service plan you choose for the SAP Cloud Management Service. Okay. For the list of available service plans, see SAP Cloud Management Service Plans, which is the next thing here. Okay, we'll have a look. So we got service display name, technical name, CIS. There are basically two plans because that's some other service. There's central and there's local. And if we have a look back here, where is it? If we go into API reference, we want to look for global account region read. Okay, and it's there. Okay, there's only one of them, and in fact, so therefore local, right? I guess the name, yeah, the name sort of implies as well. You know, you don't get any global stuff. It's central. So we need to create an instance. Well, it'll tell us in a minute. We need to create an instance of the Cloud Management Service of CIS using the central plan, not the local plan, because if we did it with the local plan, maybe we'd try that, you know, if we get time at the end and say, oh, it's failed and everything. You know, because we need this scope. Okay, so let's go back to here. Procedure, blah, blah, blah. Create a service instance for CIS. Okay, when you create the service instance, specify the following: the name of the service plan, a name of the service instance, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you've got some sample code here. We've got some curl examples here. We're not going to copy paste these. We're going to do it ourselves. Okay, so that's really, you know, where you end up when you follow the documentation to say, okay, well, I want to call these the APIs, some endpoints in this API here. You follow documentation and it tells you. So let's move now away from that documentation and start to think about what we need. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to be using, oh, hello, thank you very much, my favorite feature. I'm going to be using a test trial account, because why not? You know, they're still available and they're free and everything, and you can get one too. So that's really cool. Come on, hello, yes. I'm going to be using a trial account, and I've got a Cloud Foundry environment. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my favorite environment, CF login, and what we need is to be able to log into this API endpoint. Copy link address. Now CF login -a there. Okay, that's the endpoint. Now q macro plus blue. Excellent. Okay, so I'm logged in to the Cloud Foundry runtime, Cloud Foundry environment instance in this sub account, which is a trial, called trial, in my global trial account. Okay. Now, again, if we get time later, and again, Marion will maybe remember this from the code jam. If we get time later, there is a way of not having to go to the web browser to go and do a copy paste. So if you wanted to automate this kind of stuff, where is this endpoint available? How do we know which endpoint to to specify when we log on to the Cloud Foundry environment, right? Well, it's actually embedded in the environment data that's available. In fact, just briefly show you BTP list counts. What is it? Available environments, environment instance. Right, if we look at that, in fact, yeah, it won't take that long with it. So we're going to have a look at that, format JSON. There we go. So if we have a look, and if we have a look in there, we can go to environment instances, get the first one, and then look at labels. Ooh, not labels, not landscape label, labels. As you can see, the value of that labels property is a string, JSON encoded string, so we can say from JSON, and we can see there's the API endpoint. Okay, so if you did want to sort of mechanically work out what API endpoint you needed to log on with CF, you can find it, because the BTP CLI will give you that information from the environment instance information in JSON, so you can get right to it, which is really nice. Oh, your screen is a little bit cut off at the bottom. Oh, what, really? Ah, thank you. Nico, thank you very much. Yes, this is, why do I always forget that? Hopefully I can change the display. Whoa. Yeah, what I do, there we go, that's better, isn't it? See, during normal work time, I don't have it set to 1080p, but then I set it to 1080p for the live stream, but then I forget to set it to 1080p for the live stream. Thank you, Nico. Thank you. You were very polite there. It's a little cut off. It was massively cut off, so thank you. Thank you, Nico. So is that better? That's huge now, isn't it? There we go. There we go. So tell me if that's better, please. Thank you very much. And thank you for letting me know. So yeah, we can get that there. Right. Anyway, we've logged in. And what do we need to do? We need to create an instance of the CIS service. So let's just see CF. By the way, I'm running version 8 of the CF as latest version, CF version 8, which is fine. See, you can run 7 as well. I've recently moved to 8, and we can say CF Marketplace. It was an M. Well, why do we do that? CF Marketplace, and then I know the output is really wide, so I'm going to truncate it to the. There we go. So let's have a look at that. Let's CIS. There it is, CIS. We can see that available to me is the CIS service, and I have available to me the central plan and the local plan. We could even do that a little bit differently. If we could look at the help for the marketplace, we can say CF show plan details for a particular service offering, so CIS. There we go. We get the central plan and the local plan. Okay. Thank you, Nico. Thanks for and thank you, Helmut. Thanks for letting me know. I'm going to use the excuse. This is the first live stream of 2023, and I have no idea what I'm doing still. So I did used to have a checklist. Do this, do that, do the other, and let's go out the window. So we've got that. So why don't we say, have I got any services right now? I think I might have one. Enterprise messaging service. We want to leave that because I use that for other things. But we want to create an instance of the service. Now, so yeah, create service, service name, service name, CIS. We want the central plan. And again, my naming convention always, because I'm dead boring and my brain doesn't work very well, I just create the service instance name as a combination of the service name and the plan name. So yeah, central. Let's see what happens. Come on. And while we're, it's done. So we've done, make that a little bit smaller. There we go. We've done, that's better, yeah. I was, see, the clue as to the screen was the wrong resolution was I had to sort of bump up the font. I was like, oh yeah, I need to make this bigger for people to see it. Oh, what a fool. So we've done now this bit, create a service instance, okay? And then it also says create a service key, okay? So let's create a service key. CF create service key of the CIS central service and call it something, okay? CIS central service key. So what we're saying is, give me a binding, a service key, binding, same sort of thing. Give me some stuff that would normally be used to allow an application to bind to and use the services of this instance, okay? And that service key, well, let's have a look at it. Cat CF service key CIS central SK. If we have a look at that, what do we get? We get information, I'm a little bit smaller so you can see it all. We get information in two lumps. We get some endpoints that sort of look like, in fact, if we go here, if we go down to here, we can see configuration details. There it is. Production URL of the entitlement service is this, okay? Entitlements-service, blah, 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 right? So entitlement service URL, entitlement service, blah, 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 blah. So we get automatically in the binding, in the service key that we create from an instance of that CIS service with a central plan, the information as to what the base URL of the API endpoint should be. But we also get from the authorization server, from UAA, XS UAA, we get all the information we need to talk to that credentials to say, yeah, I am this person, I have this authentication, please give me something, please give me a token. Okay, we're going to use this information to talk to the authorization server to request a token, right? And then we're going to use that token to make an API call to an endpoint that has a base of this URL. Does that make sense? Oh, CIS Central Information Service. Yes, maybe. Yes, that would be quite good. Central Information Service. Could be, couldn't it? Maybe that's our challenge, to find out what it means. Okay, so far so good. In order to request a token, what we need to do is, I'm going to look at the Windows example, all those weird new line things, maybe look a bit funny. This is the only time you should ever use a backslash, not in directory names and things. Anyway, we're going to use this pattern. Doesn't matter whether it's Mac OS or whatever, you know, Linux, Windows. We're going to use this pattern. Okay, we need to talk to the UAA URL, right? What is that? The UAA URL is this thing, the URL, the value of the URL property within the UAA property. Okay, so that is this thing, UAA. In fact, let's put this, and this, I did toot about this yesterday. Still annoys me. We need to, as you can see at the top here, we get some extra cruft from CF we have to get rid of if we want the pure JSON. So that's what I'm going to do now. So we'll do that again. Delete the first two lines, that cruft at the top, and pass it through JQ to sort of, you know, pretty print it, and then pipe it into, redirect it into a CS central sk.json file. Okay, let's do that. What's going on? Said one to delete. Oh, no, create service key. Service key. There we go. CS central sk.json. Okay, so now IJQ CI central JSON. There we go. Okay, so we now got the credentials.endpoints.entitlements. That's the URL, the base URL, but also credentials.uaa.url. That is the authorization server base URL for making requests to the authorization server. You know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, my global account here, that's what I need, right? So that is, good morning, John Murray, and Happy New Year to you, John Murray. And that is this thing here, okay? So we need the UAA URL, but we also need the client ID and the client secret. As you can see here, we're going to specify in the basic authentication, so -u, we'll explain that in a minute. Basic authentication, you need to pass the client ID and the client secret, but you also, in terms of the form, you need to pass parameters. You need to pass name value parameters. So username is my username and password is my password. Okay, this is the resource owner password credentials grant type. So we need to provide the password credentials of the resource owner, which is me, for example, right? So that's what we're going to do. That's just the rules of the password grant. And again, the password grant type is now considered legacy, but it still exists and it still protects these resources. So we still, at the moment, need to understand how to use it. And client credentials are very similar. We will request a token in the same way if we do one next week. And the authorization code is more exciting because there's a different flow. Okay. As you can also see here, we also need to pass a name value parameter in a form type thing. Grant type equals password. I am requesting a token in the context of a password grant type. Okay, so that's literally the word password, not a password. Now, we'll go through what all these different curl commands mean, and you know, again, you know I like curl because it's the most powerful and it's the simplest and it's the most scriptable, and also, you know, it's the closest you can get to making the actual HTTP call yourself. But what we're going to do is going to use sort of long form versions of these parameters so we know what we're doing. So let's do that. So there we go. So I think what we should do, what's going here, just got that file, new script get token. Let's just create a little script. What we eventually want to do is to say curl, and I'll do it on separate lines each, URL something, okay, slash, we got here, something, slash OAuth slash token. Let's put that in, actually. Let's do that for now, so we see what we're doing. And then we want content type, but actually curl by default will send content type application xww form URL encoded. Okay, that's the default content type that curl will send in any request, so we don't need to specify that. Now -u is user, so -u is the same as --, user, and what that will do is it will put, let's sort of paste that in as is. what that will do is we'll combine, or you'll make that string and base 64 encode it. Okay, so it will encode it, it won't encrypt it, it'll encode it. That's why basic authentication is not super secure. Okay, but what we're doing here is just passing these, you know, in a sense, it is secured by the fact that if you pass it via HTTPS, it's going through a secure tunnel, etc., TLS over HTTP over TLS. Anyway, let's not get into that. We have to pass the client ID and the client secret. And then we also have to pass this thing here, grant type equals password, data, grant type equals password. Okay, fine, literally the word password. And then we need to pass username equals user email. No, data username is that, and data password is that. Now, is that all we need? Well, what I'm also going to say is, because passwords, including mine, contains funny characters, what we really need to do is URL encoders, because these, if you think of this here, the form URL encoded sort of says, I'm going to pass data to you in the form of form parameters, as in, you know, name equals DJ, age equals whatever, color equals green, etc. Right? I'm going to pass those values in a URL encoded way, just in case, you know, you pass them via an HTTP GET. You know, this goes back to basic forms in HTML. You know, it's a very, very old mechanism, you know, very reliable mechanism. We're passing it through POST here, but we still have to make sure things are URL encoded. Now, if we say ABC, you don't need to URL encode that, because URL encoding of ABC is ABC. But if you have an exclamation mark or an @ sign or an ampersand or whatever, you know, all those types of things, you need to URL encode them. So curl again has a version of the dash data, which is dash data URL encode, right? So just to make sure we haven't got any weird stuff that, you know, will break the actual HTTP request because it's not URL encoded, even though we said we were URL encoding things, we can use dash data URL encode. Visa's good morning. Oh my God, how can I forget this live? Good morning. Good morning, DJ and everyone. Good morning, Visa's. I'm glad you didn't forget it. That's good. So that's what we need. Okay. So where do we get this stuff from? Well, I'm going to say declare user equals dj.add. In fact, why don't we do this? Read rp prompt user name like that. User read our secret p password pass. Okay. So I'm just going to get the script to ask me for my username and ask me for my password, which is going to, the username is going to be the email address. Correct. Okay, so do that. And we're also going to say, well, what's a UAA URL? Let's have a parameter, an environment variable, a variable. DJ, what's wrong with your brain? UAA URL equals something, and we also need client ID something. Okay. What do we say here? What have we got here? If we say JQ raw, in fact, IJQ, let's go back here again. What we want is credentials.uaa.url. Okay, so that we're going to say here JQ raw. Now, does everybody know what raw is here? If I say jq.credentials.uaa.url from the CIS there, we get credentials. We get the URL, but we get it as a JSON value, double quoted string. So what we want instead is that without, so without the double quotes as part of the value. Okay, so we say jq raw.credentials.ua.url from the why do we do this? File equals CIS central sk.json. Central.sk.json, right? And the client ID, the client ID is going to be similar, and the client secret client ID secret. Okay, so why don't we say now echo, let's honor the control characters. User is that, new line, UAA URL, new line, client ID, new line, come on, DJ, what's going on? Client secret, there we go, and then exit. Just have a look. I'm not going to print the password, obviously. So let's just see what we've got, shall we? Let's do that, and let's run it here. Get token, username, DJ. Well, in fact, no, it's going to be qmacro plus blue@gmail.com. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, good. So we've got, where's the user? Did I not put, tell the user? User, where's the user? User. Up. Oh, right, of course. The user was printed there, wasn't it? Yes, okay. What happened was, if I do that, get token, qmacro plus blue@gmail.com, password, whatever. There it is, there. There was no new line, so the user was actually printed there. I was like, where's the user? Okay, fine, so we've got all the information we need for this call, okay? So let's get ready to make the call. So we don't need that anymore, get rid of that. So now we can just say here, UAA URL there. Let's just replace that, change in quotes, client ID, client secret, like that. Grant type password, username equals, what is it? $user, and password is pass. That's right, isn't it? I think that's right. So let's summarize what we're doing so far. Are you all still with me, by the way? Are you all still with me? Summarize what we're doing so far. All we've done is we've created an instance of the CIS service with a central plan. We're now using the information in a binding, a service key that we've requested, as from that instance, connected to that instance. That binding, that service key, has information about the endpoint base URLs, but also it has information that we can use with the authorization server. Where is it? I think I've deleted I've removed it. Oh no, it's there. Is it there? Yeah, the authorization server, right? And we've got that information now to make a call to the well-known, this /OAuth/token is like a well-known endpoint to say that's where you go to ask for a token, okay? So, I think we're ready. Do you think we should try it? Should we try and make the call? Let's go here. Let's save that. And let's run it on this side here so we can see what this is doing. So if I say get token, username, are you ready? Are you ready? In fact, let's put that on that side so we can see everything, because I think my head's in the way. There we go. Oh my goodness me, there's the token. Oh yes, there we go, there's the token. So it's not very useful as it stands, so why don't we do that again and just put it into a file, token.json. So we'll do that again, qmacro plus blue@gmail.com. What is it again? Okay, so now let's have a look. Again, it's not very exciting. It's got a lot of stuff, but why don't we try and access it with? Actually, I wonder if this will work. If we look at that, get token. There's the token. Yeah. View with interactive JQ. Right, let's make that full screen. So what's in that token file? What do we get? We get a number of things. We get the access token itself, EYJHB, blah, blah, blah. we got what type of token it is, a bearer token, and that word will be significant, or we need to remember what that word is when we specify the authorization header in the actual calls to the API, right? ID token, don't really know what that is. Don't know, never used it. We get a refresh token. We'll talk about refreshing tokens another time. Basically, a token expires. Well, in fact, there we go. A token expires. A token doesn't last forever. And this is another advantage of not using basic authentication and not having to, share your credentials, your actual username and password credentials with somebody else or with some other piece of software, because how do you stop somebody how do you say, oh, I don't want that software to have access to this resource anymore? You have to change your password because the software's got your password. Whereas tokens expire, okay? So you can basically have an expiry on that token, invalidate the token in the resource server if you can. But also, once that token's expired, they can potentially, say, please give me a new one with a refresh token, or you can say, yes, here's a new one, or no, you're not having a new one, etc. Right? Expires in 43,200 seconds, which I'll tell you now is 12 hours. Not all tokens expire, have the same lifetime. This one's 12 hours. And we got scope as well. Look at that scope, which is quite long. There we go. Let's, in fact, JQ. Oh, there's the scope there. There. Quite interesting. There's the scope, and it's separated by spaces. But we'll have a look at the scope later. We probably actually, what was the scope we needed? We need global account region read. Okay, so region.read. There it is. Global account region read. So we've got the scope that we want in our token, right? So far, so good. Beep, good. Oh, hi DJ Pruthi. Pruthi. Hi DJ, it's great to see you after so long. It's great to see you as well. Welcome back, Pruthi. And Beep, how do I access Cloud BTP tables on premise? Beep, I'm not sure what you mean by Cloud/BTP tables. If you explain a little bit more, I'm not understanding what you mean by tables. I might be just being stupid, so apologies for that. So maybe rephrase the question, and we'll have another go. Okay, so we've got the token. So now what do? We can use that token in the call, and it's super simple, right? We've got this entitlements v1 global account allow data centers. Okay, we want to make a call to that, and that is protected by OAuth. So we just need to provide the token. And how do we provide the token? We provide it as it is. So JQ access token. And we want it raw form. That's the thing we need to send in the HTTP request in the authorization header, right? So traditionally or commonly, you'll see somebody's on. Oh, I thought somebody's at the door then. You will see, for example, authorization : basic, and then which is a base 64 a base 64 encoded string, which consists of a username : password, right? We're going to use an authorization header again, but we're not going to use basic. We're going to use the type of token, bearer, right? So why do we do it? Can we do it just manually? Yeah. Okay. So if we say curl, in fact, let's edit it so like this: curl header authorization. Normally you'd have like basic and then some, encoded URL encoded, basic to encoded string. But what we need is bearer. And then we need the token itself, the access token. Let's just get rid of that actually. JQ raw access token.data. We need that. So what we'll say here is, we're in a string here, JQ raw access token.json. Okay. And that's all we need. We're going to say grab the access token from the token JSON file, spit it out in raw form, as in don't try to make it a JSON value, don't put the double quotes around it, and provide that in the authorization header. Okay, and then All we need is the, now, in many curl commands, people just put the URL, Q macro or whatever, right? But I like to have all of the parameters with dash dash something, right? Because it's just, it's more beautiful, I think. Francisco, good morning, Francisco. He's probably meaning smart data access. If you are meaning smart data access, beep, I'm afraid I've got no idea. But please confirm what you're asking. And if I don't know, I can certainly find out, or try and find out the right person to speak to. But yeah, let me know what you mean. So URL. Now the URL, if you remember IJQCIS, the URL is here: credentials.endpoints.entitlement service. Where is it there? That one, right? We want that. So the base of the API endpoint URL is JQ raw, what is it? Credentials.endpoint. I'm doing it all sort of, explicitly so we can see where everything is coming from, right? Endpoint, rather than put them in variables. Endpoints.entitlements this URL, right? And then, notice that doesn't have a slash on, but this one does. I think it's in my buffer, isn't it? Oh no, it's not. Password. There we go. Let's just have that again. And type. What's going on? Entitlements. Entitlement. Let's grab it there. There we go. Entitlements. That's what we want, isn't it? And that's it, really. That should be it. That should be it. Okay, so let's try that. So what have we done so far? Where are we? We've already made a curl request, but we've made the curl request to the authorization server. Okay, we've passed information to say, please give me, here are the credentials that you require for this password grant type. Please give me a token. And we've got the token, and now we're going to make a call to the resource server with the access token, and we get back the protected resource, i.e., the results from this protected endpoint, which is this one. So I think that's it, isn't it? Let's get rid of that. Is that it? Once we save this little editor thing here, I think it should work. Hello, what's going on? What's happened to my internet? Let's try that again. Let's have verbose to see what's going on. Bearer, have I not completed something or something? Authorization, bearer, blah 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 blah. JQ, seems all right. Who can spot what this idiot has done? Who can spot why it's going? Can anybody spot it? Let me edit that again so you can see. Oh, it's not nice, but let's just sort of format it nicely. There, right. What have I not done? Why has my shell paused? Visa's good guess. But it is to do with the incantation, right? What I've forgotten to say is where this JQ should be pulling, from which file this JQ should be pulling this value. So it's waiting for standard input. Okay, so what we need really is the CIS central sk.json, don't we? So it was waiting. If you, in fact, let's do that. Yeah, if we say here jq.access token enter or whatever, credentials, endpoints, whatever, it will wait because it's waiting for some JSON in standard input. So if I say access, if I say banana fruit, this is so random, banana access token raw, right? There we go. It's pulled it from standard input. That's why it was waiting. That's why it wasn't doing anything. So now I put the file in. JQ is going to read it from the file and not wait for something coming in on standard input. hopefully it'll work now. We'll keep it verbose anyway to see what's going on. There we go. There we go. Now, what have we got? We've got a lot of stuff. Let's have a look. We've got the access token here, authorization, bearer, and then there's the access token. That's what was sent, right? And we get a successful 200 response. Notice it's HTTP 2. It's quite cool, isn't it? And then we get, well, what do we get? We get the content type. Where's the content type? Application JSON in the response. Remember, curl in the verbose mode. What's it called? Less than signs basically mean that way. Is it that way? I can't figure out what's going to be on the screen. But basically, ones going that way mean this is the response. If we have a look a bit above, those are the ones going out in the request, and these coming back in the response. And then we get the response itself, which is that. So, in fact, let's run it again. Data.json. Let's pull it into data.json. And then IJQ data.json. There we go. We've got the results. And then we've got the data centers. That is the value of calling this endpoint. Now, that took 50 minutes. Well, okay, I was talking for a bit at the start, wasn't I? That took sort of 40 minutes. But hopefully we went slow enough to understand the general dance, the OAuth dance. I think people, quite a few people call it the OAuth dance. And you can sort of understand why. You have to sort of talk to this thing first to get a token, and then have to talk to this. Well, actually, here we have to sort of, talk to the service broker effectively, sort of indirectly, to say, please create me an instance of this service. And normally, you won't do that every time you want to make an API call. You're going to have an instance of a service, and then you use that time and time again, and you use your binding time and time again, your service binding information. And then you say, right, okay, well, I've got the information in my service binding. Now I want to talk to the authorization server. Please, may I have a token? Here are my credentials and everything. And this is the type of grant I'm asking in the context of password grant. You get your token. Your token is going to expire. Then you can refresh it, or you can ask for another token. That's another conversation. And then you can make that. So as you can see here, I made that call. I'm going to make the call again. Let's make the call without putting it into data.json. And let's not have verbose. There we go. And make that again, and again, and again. So that token, that same token, is being used because the token's not expired yet, has it? JQ. What is it? Keys. What's it called? JQ expires in token, 43199. So we've still got loads of seconds left. Okay, thank you very much. This actually gave me a good idea for one of my current projects. Very valuable. Excellent. Thank you for letting me know, Helmut. So one last thing. We got a few minutes left. Oh my goodness me. One last thing. We did look, didn't we? Where was it? Oh yes, it was actually in the token file. It was in the scope, wasn't it? There's the scope. We could even say here scope splits there. Okay, so we can see in there, right, what scopes we have. And that scope there, that's the one, map select contains, what was it we needed? Global dash account region read. Global account region read. There it is. That's what we've got. Now, obviously, this $XS app name, that's effectively, where is it? Well, we've got this thing here, okay. But just in case you're interested, there's also in the access, embedded in the access token itself. In fact, let's go back in there again and look at. If we look at the access token, it's huge. If we split that out, it's all that. So what is inside that? That's encoded, and I know that at least one person, Marion, will know what type of token that is. So Helmut says, I created a script that uses CLI tools that have to be installed at developer machines, but why don't I use the API? Exactly. Fantastic. Fantastic. So this is a JWT token, JWT. So if we say IJQ raw value, in fact, that is short for raw output, I think. Yeah, well, let's do that. and then pass it into JWT, which is a CLI, npm install. It's an npm module that provides a quote-unquote binary, an executable. So it's the, what is it called? The JWT CLI. There, it's that one, right? That's what I've got installed here. We can see, oh, hold on. Oh, sorry, JQ. What? Raw output, access token. I'm getting too excited. I thought I had JWT installed. Hold on. Export path equals path, and then npm global bin. Okay. Oops. What's going on? What? Oh, there. DJ, come on. What's going on? I'm trying to be, there we go. More haste, less speed, DJ. More haste, less speed. So now we can pass that into JWT, and it will tell us all sorts of information. So all this information is inside that completely unreadable lump of string, which is the access token. We could even say, is it output equals JSON or format equals JSON? Yes, there we go. So we can pipe that. We can say, JWT, please give me the breakdown of everything that's in that big lumpy string in JSON format. Then we can load it into IJQ and sort of explore it. So we can say here, payload, scope, etc. So we're back to there, but we've also got other things as well. Anyway, Happy New Year, Barish. Happy New Year. And that's it, really. Now, in the last minute or so, tell me, next week, what should we do next week? Shall we do some more OData? For example, client credentials. I mean, we know the basics now. Maybe we can do a client credentials, a call to a client credentials protected resource, just if not anything else, so we know what the difference is between what we've done today and what we'll do with client credentials, and what the difference is between the client credentials based grant type dance and the resource owner password credentials grant type dance. And then if I can we might have to sort of go off piece to find an API that is protected with the authorization code grant type. I'm sure we've covered this before, but I can't remember. Shall we do that? Let me know. Happy New Year! Happy New Year! So Hussein just says narrowboat again. Brilliant. Oh, you want to do a session on narrowboat? I'm going to do another blog post this weekend, I think. So yeah, that's it. I think we're at the top of the hour. So thank you so much for joining. Let me know in the chat right now if this was helpful, if I missed anything. I can always do with some feedback what I could do better. But apart from that, have a lovely Friday. Have a lovely rest of the weekend. And yeah, I'll see you next week. If nobody says, no, don't do that, DJ, you're an idiot, I will schedule another OAuth 2 live stream for next Friday, and we'll do some client credentials. Oh, hello, Visa says, Bash, Curl, JQ and DJ, more to come. Dacia Pina, yes, Dacia. Prithvi, sorry, thank you, DJ Grace. Okay, brilliant. So I'll see you soon. Bye.